Welcome back to the homestead. It's a nice rainy day out. We're still on the CF Moto project here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the cover off the drive belt and do a visual inspection. We're going to blow the dust out of the clutches and just make sure everything looks good. We're not having any problem, but we're at 2,200 miles. We took the cover off at about 1,000 miles and blew all the dust out of the clutches. And so we're going to do that. If we see something, out of place with the belt, we'll go get a new belt. But if not, we'll put the cover back on and we'll change the belt around 3,000 miles. So one of the first things I want to do before I even get going is this is the snorkel for the breather for the vent. Yeah, English. This is the breather for the clutch assembly. There's two of them. There's one on this side and one on the other side. And you saw us do the other one, I think, in the oil change. But we're going to take this little boot off and we're going to see what's in there. What's in there is usually, an indicator of what's getting sucked into the drive belt. In our case, it's just a little bit of powder, which we would expect. The other thing we could do, if we were worried about it, if it was at all moisture laden, we would stick something up in there and make sure that hole is clear. In our case, where it's so dry, we're not going to worry about that. Okay, put that back together. So this is one of those where taking the tire off really helps. The next thing that we're going to do is take the battery cover off, because this will gain us a lot of access. And that requires a 10mm socket. Again, if you're only going to carry one tool in this machine with you on the road, carry a 1/4" drive ratchet, an extension, and a 10mm socket, because you can do damn near anything on this thing with that set of tools. For example, if you ever needed to boost this, I guess you could maybe put booster cables on this positive terminal block up here, but it would sure be a lot easier to get rid of the battery. And I would say also, I feel like it goes without saying, but pressure wash the daylights out of these things before you bring them in to do this type of service. Just so that you're not so much for you, but for the machine. Because if you don't, you're going to be knocking dirt into everything you do. And we certainly don't want to do that.
We do all of our own services, but our dealer actually will charge you $80 less on any service you bring it in for if you've pressure washed it or washed it very well before you bring it in. Because that's how serious they are about wanting these clean before they get worked on.
Okay, so these are going to be 8mm bolts. And there's a series of them goes around this plastic cover on the belt. And a couple of them take a little diligent fiddling, I won't lie. And there may be, like if you really wanted to, you may be able to take the driver's seat out and take some plastic off, but you can see my hand, I believe, in the video. I'm looking through the battery, but these are the front two screws up in here. So I like to go after the hardest ones first. I know it's kind of like eating my dinner. I eat the thing that I like the least first off the plate, and I work towards the thing I like the most.
He loves everything I cook though, so it's a tough choice.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these screws out. I'm going to get this one out and show you what it looks like, because this will help you understand how to get them in and out. There's a rubber cone behind the washer. So as soon as you break that bolt loose a little bit, if you pull that washer out of the case, this will turn by hand. If the washer stays stuck in the case, it will turn hard the whole way. Because what happens is that rubber squishes down in and it seals against the bolt and against the plastic. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take out all these bolts, and then we'll bring you back when we got them all out. All right, so we've got our 9th bolt out. And essentially what I find is on the front cover, if there's 3 bolts up in the front that are a little tough to get at. Everything else is pretty easy. And then that cover come out of there with a little bit of diligent fiddling. So there's your cover. There is a rubber gasket in there. You want to inspect that. And then I'm gonna grab the camera and a flashlight. Okay, so I got the camera and the flashlight. And this is your, maybe I can get Sue to hold the flashlight right here. This is your drive clutch, so this is on the engine, and this is your driven clutch, or your secondary clutch, which is on the transmission. And we're looking at the belt. We don't see any fraying. We don't see any, funny spots. It's still up out of the clutch real well. It's not riding way down in there. We don't see any bad spots in the clutch. So we're going to say that's good to go for another 1,000 miles, but we are going to blow the dust out of this clutch. This clutch gets really dirty, and it hinders its performance. So we're actually going to go grab our air hose and our blow nozzle, and we're going to blow all this out. We're going to blow the cover out, and we're going to put it back together. So I'm going to give you guys back to Sue. And she's probably going to want to stand back quite a ways. This is not a pleasant project. And you don't want to breathe this either. You definitely want to, do this in a well-ventilated area. You guys can hear me over the air compressor. I'm going to go ahead and blow this all out. And it's ready to go back together. So we're going to let the air compressor shut off, and we'll bring you back. Alright, so now the air compressor shut off. You guys saw all the black dust that come out of there from the weights and everything that move. So those of you that don't understand these clutches or what actually happens here, this clutch, the faster it spins, there's weights that go out, and they force this piece of the clutch right here to go in towards the engine. And what that does, it binds onto that belt. And as that goes in, the faster that spins, the more it goes in, it pulls this belt down inside this one and actually changes the gear ratio. So this pulley gets bigger and this pulley gets smaller, which is almost like shifting gears in a manual transmission. That's why they call it I think it's a CVT, constant velocity transmission. So there's no actually shifting, it's continuous through. So we're going to go ahead and put this back on. And before we do, I will say that this doesn't look like this is going to be that bad to change the belt on. So we'll probably go ahead and get a belt ordered. We're going to get an air filter ordered, the O-ring for the oil filter housing. We'll get a bunch of parts ordered to have here, because somewhere midsummer we're going to need to change this belt. If we get our way, it'll be pretty soon, because we really enjoy getting out on this thing and riding. So what I'm going to do is just take my time and put all my bolts back in. And just like everything else, I'm going to get all 9 started before I tighten them. And you can use the extension to put them in with, so you don't have to reach so far in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the rest of our bolts in, tighten them up, and we'll bring you right back. Okay, so we've got all of our bolts tight, and the way these bolts work is they actually bottom out. There's a shoulder that bottom out against the block. So you want to run them down until you feel them bottom out, and that squishes that rubber up. So that's pretty much it. We're going to reverse the process. We're going to put our battery cover back on, put our tires back on, and we're good to go. So the last thing we're going to do is adjust the valves. So that's going to be our next video or videos. I'm not sure if it'll be probably one long one. But we're going to bring it back and we're going to adjust the valves and show you how to do that. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.